things like DSCR loans, FHA, stuff that doesn't require that 20% down. What are the best and most inviting ways for newcomers into this world who think that you just have to do the 20% down traditional thing and like that difficult route that seems really hard? Can you share a little bit about, and maybe we can first go into the FHA program. I know we've talked about it a little bit before, but if we could go a little bit into the FHA and kind of explain to people that don't really understand it, what the requirements are and kind of what it entails.
So the FHA program is a government program, is for buying homes, and you can buy a 1 to 4 unit home with it. So people who are looking to invest in a multifamily property and want to get into the investing world of getting like an investment property that's going to give them money, but it's technically not an investment loan. It's a residential loan because you will live in it. So the way it works and why it's so good for people like this is, for one, the entry point is easier. So it's 3.5 down. You don't have to put more than that down, but that's the minimum. If you put more down, the mortgage insurance on it, which usually is for the life of the loan, is less money. And if you put 10% down, the mortgage insurance will fall off in 11 years. So that's good, because the rates are usually lower. So if you can wait the 11 years, that's like $400 off your payment without having to do anything but wait. But that's like one component of it. All right. So the other thing that's really good about this program is the amount of debt that you can carry with it. With conventional loans, in most cases, it's capped at 45% back end. So back end means that's all your debts. That's everything. Front end is like housing costs. So there's like 2 ratios. With the main one, your back end is 45 usually on conventional, and with FHA, it's like I have it written down here. The max is like 56.99. You can get more money. So if you were with conventional and your ratios are at 45%, right? That's it. But so say you want to buy, say the house that you're looking at it costs more and it pushes you to 50%. So you would go to FHA and you would be able to push your maximum, which would be that 56.99. So you would be able to get more house.
Oh, nice.
That way.
Oh, wow.
So that's how it makes it easier, and it's more lenient. The credit things are more lenient if there are like mitigating factors. So if you have like delinquencies that have been there for a while, but you make a lot of money, and there's other factors, like there's ways to kind of like layer the risks and see like what underwriting says, like depending on if it's automated underwriting or if it's a manual underwrite. So those things are it's just more lenient. Okay. Credit is usually less. Some people do 580. I don't do anything under 620. I can broker something. So I can broker something at 580, but it's going to be expensive for the buyer. But me as a lender, of me lending as my entity lending, would be at a 620, which is still pretty low. Like the 620 is that's not like a perfect profile, but there's all sorts of things that can make something lower or like whatever. It's not, it doesn't mean the person's bad or not good.
So if I'm understanding this correctly, if you don't have a great credit score, which is, more towards 7s, obviously 8s are excellent, all of that category. But if you're in like the 580 to the 620, even up to like the high 6s, it's going to be more expensive for you if your credit is lower.
Yeah, the reason for that is because you take a hit.
Gotcha.
Like there's certain tiers. There's like 650 plus, like 720 plus. You get these like hit points, and they're negative hit points or positive hit points. So like when I go to price a loan, some investors are going to be a little bit more lenient, and they're going to have different guidelines. But like 720 plus will usually give you what is called elite pricing for me. So that means I'm able to get a better rate for my client without having to pay points. And for people that don't know, like when you pay points, it basically you pay for the rate, the lower rate that's on the sheet, because there's a certain rate that pays a certain amount that we need to make. So like if it pays 2 points, that's what we need to like be able to actually do the loan. So say it makes 1 point, but the rate is better, so we split it. So like I get 1 point, and then the buyer has to pay 1 point.
Gotcha. Okay.
Also, within FHA loan, when you're dealing with multifamily properties, the rents are considered towards your qualifying profile. So say you're going to live in one unit and then you're going to rent the other 2 units out. So 75% of what the market rents are go towards your profile. So that sucks up the debt. So say you were going to buy the same house, same price house as a single family, your debt back end would be a lot higher because you don't have the other units chipping away at that. So now that you have say you're getting $4,000 for these rents, that's like the 75%. So say that is like $4,000. That $4,000 goes towards your profile, qualifying it, not after. So like in the underwriting process, it goes towards it. So sometimes it can actually be less of a financial burden to buy a multifamily house because it's easier to qualify because there's more that you could do with it. So in the worst case, you like rent something out, and it's more of a secure way of getting the money every month.
So that sounds like a really great idea for certain people to be able to buy either, and correct me if I'm wrong, multifamily would also involve the words duplex, quadplex, anything like that, where you can.
Triplex, yeah.
Yep. So anything like that.
Anything over 4 is going to be a commercial loan.
Gotcha. Okay.
So 5+.
Okay. So yeah, 1 to 4 units. You live in one, you rent out the others. That supplemental income is going to help you get into that housing a lot easier because of that projected rental rate.
Absolutely.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. So this could work really well for people. Question on if you're doing a single family house and it's not on paper like maybe a duplex, like possibly it's a house that has 2 entrances, separate entrances.
Yeah, okay.
So you could rent out the downstairs, live in the upstairs, and kind of house hack it. Obviously, would that still work for something like this?
It would work personally, unless so it would have to be a legal 2 unit.
Okay.
But the way that you would do it, I don't know if you could get it on. I don't know if this would, because I've seen 3 units that were actually 4 units because the attic is finished, but it doesn't meet the requirements. So if you were to rent it out, they would be technically renting out the second, or they would be renting out the 3rd floor, but they would be like a roommate, but they would have a separate entrance and all that stuff. You could do it like that, but from an underwriting standpoint, no, it would have to be a legal 2-family.
Okay.
Or you could convert it, like say you got like a 203K, which is like a rehab loan, and you converted it and you had the plans and all that stuff. Like you could do it then, but that's a lot more technical, and that usually is for an advanced buyer.
Okay. Yeah, and we can talk about that at a later date because that's super interesting. And just a quick question on the 203K. I don't want to go into it now, but like with the 203K, sorry, that's a construction loan?
Technically, yeah. So it is a purchase loan with improvements in mind. So it's not like a bridge loan, because most construction loans are bridge loans. So a 203K, so say you buy a house that needs a bunch of work, and it needs to meet all these needs. So you need like an FHA like contractor, like someone who's like approved for that, and the plans need to be shown. A tough thing about this loan product is you need to qualify for the house and the improvements. So say the house is a certain amount, but then you need 50 grand worth of work, you need to qualify for the whole thing. So say you just qualify for the house and not the improvements. Sometimes those can be tough, but they do work with cheaper properties. And it like has to be a primary. Like you do have to live in it with the FHA program.
And with the FHA having to live in it as your primary, it's basically 1 year that you have to live in it.
1 year.
1 year. So theoretically, you could purchase a property, fix it up, do all of these things, live in it for 1 year, and then you could move on to another property, rent that other one out, and kind of repeat that process.
You can repeat it with a different loan program. You can't go with an FHA program. You usually can't hop from like multi to multi type thing. And if you do have two FHA loans, the house has to be outside of like 100 miles, the second house. But that's because of fraud for housing law.
And I guess, another thing that we've spoken about before is the like 5% conventional Fannie Mae. So I know that you're involved in doing something like that right now. Can you speak a little bit more about that? Because again, most people think that like 20% end all for conventional, but there are 5% options.
Yeah, there are 5% options. So that's what I'm planning to do now. And so just to complete my profile here so you can get like a look at it. So I currently own a FHA multifamily property, which I've lived in for a couple of years now. So I can move on to another multi, but with a different loan program. Until I looked at the new guidelines recently, I thought that I was going to have to put 15 to 20% down on my new multi with conventional because I knew that I had to go conventional. But as of October 2023, the entry point is 5% down now for a 1 to 4 unit.
That's awesome.
So it closed a huge gap. So like instead of saving up, 200 grand for a down payment, which is a lot, you can save, way less
Yeah.
for that and get yourself into the door. I mean, rates are higher right now, but you're going to get yourself in there and you want to, I mean, like I'm trying to make sure that the property is going to make enough money to where like it's going to carry me for a while. And when I can refinance, it'll really be worth it. So like, some of these housing prices are pretty scary. Like I'm looking at, 800 to a million right now is what I'm looking at for what I think is worth it, and then I have to jump through hoops to see, what I can get and how competitive it's going to be right now. But yeah, but that's what I'm going to do. So like, you can do this. So if you have an FHA loan that's a multifamily, you can go and buy another multi for 5% down.
That's awesome.
It does have to be a primary residence. So I'd have to move from here, move into this new one, live in it for however much time, and then move on to the next thing and keep moving.
Very cool. So yeah, the plan is, from what I understand, keep the place that you have, rent out the space that you're living, buy this other one, kind of do the same thing, rent out these other parts of it, live in it, fix it up, get it to where it needs to be, and then in the next few years, kind of repeat this thing, and then you'll have your third property or whatever it is, and continue to add to your portfolio.
Yeah, that's exactly what I plan to do, and I just want to keep doing that. And I have a system down now on how I manage everything and what I'm going to improve. Like I know what to look for now and what not to gloss over and what is going to like work best for the property and everyone else's comfort to make it comfortable. Because you need to make sure that these places are enjoyable to live in. Like these are other people's homes. I'm not going to live in these homes forever. I want to make sure they're comfortable and they feel like they're at home and it's easy.
No, that's a really great thing to always be considerate about is would I live here? But it's not necessarily like me, is this my perfect place? But would somebody else live here? Is this a rentable place that I can get somebody to pay enough money for what I need? And ideally the highest end of that rental, portion, like I would want to get the max amount I can. So I'd want it to be in a nice neighborhood. Is the walkability good? Are people going to feel safe? What's the crime like? All of those things are super important. So that's really cool that you're, mindful of that. Because I feel like some people are not mindful of that. They really need to be, they really need to think about that.
What's good about living in the residence too is you get to kind of get a taste of your own medicine. So you're like, okay, well, this isn't great. And then you like figure out certain things and you figure out what's functional.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be the best thing, but it has to be functional. It has to work for everybody. It has to make sense.
Right.
Can't just be nice and then like, be like, well, this doesn't work, or like it looks like, has a good paint job, but doesn't, really work out, doesn't have longevity. It's uncomfortable.
Sure. Yeah, totally. Great point. Yeah, that's a really good perspective. for people that qualify for VA loans, we can touch on that just very briefly because that is a good option. That there's things that I realize that not a lot of people realize with VA loans is not only is it zero money down, but you can use them multiple times. A lot of people I run into think that they can only use a VA loan once, which is incorrect, right?
That's incorrect. Well, there's like I forget it's been a while since I did one, but there's like a use, like how many times you use it, and if it's like a first use or whatever, you get a better rate. The more you use it, like the more hits that go on there. But yeah, you can use it multiple times. It's always best on the first time as far as the benefit. And there's that streamline, the IRRRL, which is like a streamline refinance. It's like a half-hour phone call.
Oh, wow.
There's like pretty much you don't need a appraisal or anything. It's really
Oh, wow.
low doc. Yeah, so it's similar to a streamline. I mean, it's based off the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
A lot of these government products are very similar, so I'll get the words jumbled up, but they're all pretty similar. Some of them are. I mean, VAs are really good. They're great. Like it's low rates, no mortgage insurance. They usually don't have to pay for the pest inspection and everything.
Yeah.
Which is good. They are stringent on the property though. Like if there's any peeling paint, evidence of any wood destroying insects, carpenter ants, anything like that, it needs to be remedied or.
Totally. Yo, yeah. No, so I do probably about like 50% VA loans in my business. A lot of my clients are VA.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah, I do a tremendous amount of them, and they are much more strict on the appraisal and the inspections. If a house does have that peeling paint, even anything that's going to give sign of that could be hazardous in any way or a big cost to the client, they're not going to allow for. So there are loopholes around it. There's ways to kind of work through if you have a property that's kind of to die for and you really want to try for it, but it's got some of these issues. You can try to ask the seller to make those repairs, or I never recommend for buyers to spend their own money on a property that's not theirs. But there's some of those circumstances where they know it's just going to work. They know they'll have the ability to close, and they'll just pitch in a few bucks to have some of these things taken care of. I don't usually recommend the buyer to do that. We usually want the seller to do that, but you're right. Yeah, it can be tricky because the VA is so particular on making sure the home goes to, the home is safe and in great shape for the veterans. So what I've found is when I do talk to a lot of these veterans, especially the first-time home buyers, they do think that they can only use it once, and that they will have to use conventional for the remaining time. And what I'm advocating is for a lot of these veterans, since they move around so frequently, every 2 to 3 years, typically, is to buy with their VA, live in it for however long, whether it's 1 year, because that's the same rule. It's a 1 year to however long they're going to be in that home. And then wherever they move next, if it's because they received orders or they just want to move, they can move out of that house and either keep the VA loan in that home and potentially use a VA loan again without having to refi based on their eligibility, or they can refinance that VA into a conventional and then keep using the zero money down. There's going to be things to that, but that's really cool. It's just, a lot of people can really get into investing. A lot of veterans and active duty can get into owning multiple properties by kind of using a similar process that we're talking about with FHA, living in it for a little bit, moving, and kind of using a different program, so there's ways to kind of start acquiring portfolios using these things. And especially great for them when they have no down. And I guess I wanted to ask you about like the zero down thing, because from some of the research that I've done on FHA, for example, and maybe this works with conventional 5% down, you tell me, but there's like down payment assistance and like programs and grants that people can use for this down payment portion. So in a sense, they can get that same benefit of like zero down. Granted, they'll have closing costs. They will have certain expenses depending, but for the down payment, there's down payment assistance. So you could theoretically, without having to be a veteran, potentially do like a zero down to purchase a house.
Yes, absolutely. There's a few tiered levels to this. So there's grants, right? So in Rhode Island, we had a $17,500 grant that they would just give you for that, and that's, it's, you don't have to pay it. It's great if you qualify for it. It's great. It's money. And then there's zero down programs that do like a first and second lien. So one lien would be like the like what. So some of them have caps. So let me backtrack here. So there's like 0%, and there's usually like an asterisk, and like it'll say like 3 to 5% or up to 15,000, whatever comes first. All right, and then that's used for your down payment, and it's in a first and second lien system. And there's a few ways that they do this. Sometimes they're forgivable loans where you don't have to make any payments, and eventually, if you stay within the parameters, it'll fall off in a few years. So that's kind of like a grant. It's free, basically. And then there's other ones that have like little to no interest, and you just pay them as you go, and they just need to be satisfied when the house is paid off, in that 30-year term or whatever the terms are. So those are great programs. The only thing, like, some programs will let you use down payment assistance and then spill over into closing, but that's not everybody. Most don't. Usually it's down payment only, then you have to figure out closing. Or it's just closing, or like whatever. So there's other, it just depends on what the program is. So it's good to kind of look at it, but they do have like different, styles of this same thing, because Fannie and Freddie like make these things, and then they kind of have overlays for other people or other lenders. They work with, other investors, and they kind of craft them depending on what's going on. And they can be great to get into a property, for sure. It makes it a lot easier to get in.
You can get into a house with like no money for your down payment without that's incredible. That's really, really great. I really want to utilize some of those programs myself, just because I used to think that it was either had to be like 5, had to be 10 or 20, depending on the type of property and situation. But the down payment assistance is really great. Not going to work for everybody, but it's certainly something that a lot more people should know about. So yeah, thank you.